With Scottie Pippen and the biggest focus on him, and as far as where he came from and his background with his 12 brothers and sisters, and
Yep.
the rise from rags to riches, and the contract that was but shouldn't have been. The obviously the question we want to know was, we'll start with the type of player that he was and the
Okay.
recognition that Jordan got versus what Scottie got.
Okay.
Was he a great player or a good player next to a great player?
Boy, you dropping heap of these questions, man. Um, listen. My mom, you know, I might get her in trouble by saying this, but my mom was a huge Scottie Pippen fan. I think she probably had a crush on him. Um,
uh,
I mean, Scottie was a handsome guy. Scottie was a handsome guy, and Scottie's story, and especially as they lay it out even more now, Scottie's story connected with just everyday people. Scottie from Hamburg,
mhm,
Arkansas, like you said, 12
mhm.
brothers and sisters. Parents didn't have a lot. Father had a stroke from just working hard. Sibling was in a wheelchair. Grew up with two folks in a wheelchair in his home, and he had to go out and be the breadwinner. He
Right.
worked his way into a scholarship and all those different things. And so, it's fascinating to learn those type of things, and it just shows you the drive that people have in terms of getting away from their circumstances and getting away from poverty and wanting more for yourself to create kind of a better life for your family. And so I have great respect for Scottie in terms of that. But in terms of his performance on the basketball court, I think uh they talked about it in the documentary, the way Jordan was just so abrasive and the way he pushed his teammates. And when Scottie came in, they took no prisoners on Scottie. I mean, there's one part in it where I don't like was Charles Oakley slapped Scottie, and I was like, look,
Yeah, I was like,
I was like, look, if that's me, Oak about to get these hands, dog. You ain't a rookie or no
ah.
rookie. You ain't slapping me like that.
I had to sit there and think. I was like, how old was Scotty? I said Scotty is probably about 21 years old. That's still that age where you paying homage
Right,
to an
right,
OG that
right,
kind of got you by your collar. You like, look, I got you, whoop, whoop.
right.
And that's Charles saying, you still. I get it. We've all been in the locker room. It
Right,
get sometimes we get a little physical with each other for whatever reason, or it's a young cat coming across and we
right.
like, hey, watch yourself, calm
Yeah,
down, or you are talking about that we this and we that. So I'm gonna
we
check you for it,
yeah,
but playfully. But
we, we,
even then, yeah,
we've all hazed some young folks. We've all hazed
yeah,
a couple
man,
of young
we
folks.
all haze,
But
but go
Scottie,
ahead.
in terms of his performance, man, I think Scottie. Hear me out, Tony.
Hmm.
And I'm about to give y'all some facts. Y'all may disagree with me. Scottie is the greatest Chicago Bull of all time. Again, Scottie Pippen. I know you're raising your eyebrows. Scottie Pippen is the greatest Chicago Bull of all time. And arguably, in my opinion, the greatest all-around basketball player ever in the National Basketball Association's history. Because Scottie was LeBron before LeBron. Scottie,
Same size, right?
yeah, same size. Scottie could defend, and Scottie's a better defender than LeBron. I mean, Scottie would
Yeah,
defend
yeah, yeah,
as
definitely.
perimeter player. Scottie facilitated the offense. He was the point forward. Scottie could hit the 3-point shot. Scottie could start the break and finish the break. Scottie could block shots. Scottie could give you 10 rebounds. Scottie could do it all. Scottie could put his back to the basket. Whatever the team needed, Scottie could do it. And that's what made Michael Jordan so great and allowed him to just be a flat out scorer, because Scottie took care of all of the other things. And that was the arrangement that they made. And that's why I argue every day that Scottie needs more credit, because he just wasn't a Robin to Batman. Scottie could have been his own Batman, but he
Yeah.
sacrificed in order to win championships. And so, man, that's a great question you asked. Was he a good player next to a great player? No, I think Scottie was a great player in cahoots with a great player, and he made sacrifices to allow that great player to shine in order to win championships.
Now, I want to go back to what I said earlier. Here it comes.
Hmm.
Flash, and then
Yep.
once you take the picture, what you look at? You look at the detail.
Right. Right.
Jordan was your flash.
Yes.
Scotty was your detail.
Yeah.
When somebody has to go in and do all of the ugly things. Somebody has to be willing to run through that brick wall for the sake of the team. And all of the time we think that it has to be the best player. It doesn't have to be. You need that player that's going to get ugly. You need
Mhm.
that player that's really going to get in there. And Jordan said it. Jordan said it. He said, "I wouldn't have won these championships without Scottie Pippen."
Yeah,
And let's bring it to modern day basketball. Does Steph Curry win those championships without Klay Thompson?
absolutely not.
Let's look at Steph and Klay. We can attribute a lot of things, and I'm not saying Steph is Jordan, but we can attribute the same situation and say this is Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. And
Hmm.
you have the guy who's shooting threes from half court, the guy who has the tricks with the handles and all of that stuff, makes it look real pretty on
Yeah,
his way to the hole. And then you got the guy that's just gonna post up and shoot, the guy that's just waiting there on the wing, the guy that can defend the opposing team's best player.
right.
That is Klay Thompson. That was Scottie Pippen. And those are the guys that's just not going to get so much of the credit because again, we said it earlier when
Well,
I
even
when
even
I
even, even real quickly, even to the point about as you talk about the Warriors. Now, one thing, just sidebar,
go ahead.
I don't think Clay's that great of a defender, but I get, I've heard that argument. But
Ah,
then two, you could throw Draymond in there and those intangibles that he brought to
yeah,
the
for
table.
sure, for sure,
They
for
wouldn't
sure.
have been a championship team without Draymond. But go ahead, finish your point. I'm sorry.
No, yeah, but that's a really good point, and it's just having those type of players or that type of player around a great player.
Yeah.
And yes, Scottie Pippen was great. Yes, Scottie Pippen still averaged over 20 points a game when Jordan had decided to retire. He still carried the Bulls, though Houston ended up winning those championships. But even then, Scottie held it down when Jordan needed him to hold it down,
Mm-hmm.
and there were two great players. They were obviously we can easily say at that time Scotty, and they said is noted in the documentary that Scotty was probably the second best player in the NBA.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And so and
Yes,
so and
dude.
so
Yes.
and here's one thing I will say, and I think people kind of test this. I feel like since we kind of started the podcast, I've been taking a lot of shots at LeBron, but my SOS team knows that I don't care.
Right.
So
Right.
the biggest thing is the fact that I said with when it came to the Warriors and having Kevin Durant.
Mm-hmm.
These are free agent moves, and this is go back to Jerry Cross. These are free agent moves that are being made to ensure that a team is good from the time we start the season to the time we close out. And we can't help how teams pan out. They went and got Dennis Rodman. They went
Mm-hmm.
and made sure they made the trade to get Scottie Pippen involved to get these key pieces around
Right.
who?
Right.
Michael
Michael
Jordan.
Jordan. Michael
And,
Jordan.
and and yeah, and it just so happens Dennis Rodman was good. It just so happens Scottie Pippen is a Hall of Fame player,
Mm-hmm.
standing right next to one of the top five NBA players in the world, Michael Jordan.
Right.
So I think, and I don't want to get too far away from the question itself. Obviously, we know Scottie Pippen was a great player. Was he the most dynamic? Obviously, no. That was Jordan's role. But you need that dirty guy that's gonna stick his hands
Well,
in there when
So
nobody else wants to.
let me ask you this: as we talk about Scottish greatness and how he did all the intangibles and all those different things, right? And he did the dirty work, and he had the thankless job, and he took a back seat and things of that nature. But then the documentary also shows us in details of something I had no idea of about that bad contract that he signed.
Oh man,
7 years, 18 million. In 1991, he signed that contract, 7 years, 18 million. And at that time, that was a fair contract for a guy who's been in the league 3 or 4 years, never won any championships, a budding kind of superstar, and so forth. But by 1997, 98, he should have made more money than that. In your opinion, Tony, why did Scotty sign such a long-term non-advantageous contract like that?
if I put 18 million in your hands in the early 90s, what's the first thing you think? Forget the years. Forget the years. If I put $18 million in your hands in the early 90s, what do you think?
And I'm from Jackson, Mississippi.
Yeah.
Uh,
What
yeah,
you
yeah,
think?
it's
You
gonna
from
be hard.
Hamburg, Arkansas. You from
It's gonna be hard
Hamburg, Arkansas.
with 12 brothers.
What's-
It's gonna
with
be hard to
12
say no.
brothers.
It's gonna be hard to say no.
And it is. And I don't blame Scotty you blame him in the long run because in the art of business, you don't sign that contract. In the
Right.
art of business, and I think even in politics, you could probably allude those same things to practice when saying if this is a contract or we make a law, you don't do this law, you think long term.
Long term. Yeah.
And Scotty didn't think the long term because what happens is when you play with contracts and you sign your name on that dotted line, you
That's
don't
it.
get to negotiate these things until you're 2 years or a year before this thing
Right.
ends.
Right.
Scotty signed the contract, then comes back after you outplayed this contract, which you had already outplayed the contract when you signed it. It was just
Tremendously outplayed it.
tremendously outplayed the
Tremendously
contract.
outplayed it.
Yeah, and I can't say why Cross decided to draw this up and say, "Here, Scotty, I want you to sign this 7 years for $18 million." That's
Right.
terrible. But for Scotty and his family, that's great. And I know the pressure of saying, "I want to be." You want to be that man, Damien. You want to be that man that says, "I provided for my wife." Or I
Right.
provided for my future
Right.
kids. Or
Right.
I provided for my entire family and they no longer have to want for naught. But in the
Right.
long term in a game that is basketball, when it comes time that you want that $30 million contract. They tell what they say. Scotty wasn't even in the top 100 of highest paid NBA players in the league.
122nd highest paid player in the National
Even
Basketball.
worse, even worse, and you're the second best player in
And
the
this, and
game.
this and this is in '97 after they won their 5th championship. Like Scotty
So
was
it's two.
making like 2.5, bro. That is
Right. And
crazy.
now compare that to the year that Scotty was drafted. It's been too long at this point, and then we're
Right.
in after the 6th championship. This is done. At the
Right.
ship championship, this is done. So we're here at the 5th one, where questions are these guys kind of getting past their prime at this point? How long we'll be able to keep this together? Cross
Right.
is already ticked off at Phil Jackson and wanted Phil Jackson to get out of there by
Right.
the time that they won the 5th championship. So to come in and then you want another contract when now at this point Jordan making $33 million or $33 whatever the case was, and other players are getting these contracts. Elijah, oh man, it's tongue twister. But I'm gonna keep it moving. But other players are getting these high dollar contracts, and Scotty being the odd man out
Yeah.
at the time again, not a bad contract. Long term, 7 years for 18 million. But again, I go back to my first question. If I give you $18 million in the early '90s at a time when the salary cap wasn't such a big issue, and
Mhm.
and getting $1 million was, or at least high paid contracts, we're talking about $30 million being a high paid contract in the late
Oh,
'90s,
that was
in
an insane number.
'97.
That was an insane
How
number
much?
at the time.
How much is LeBron getting paid now?
About the same, somewhere in there, somewhere 30
That
something,
in the average ballpark, in
somewhere in
today's
there.
NBA. Yeah, but then
I think he took a haircut, but like even Mike Conley is making like 34, 35 now. I think Harden is close to 40. Steph is somewhere in 40 or something like that. It's crazy.
you
But let me
see
say
what,
this.
and you see, yeah,
Let me say this. So I was looking at some numbers out. Me and my boys, we watched the whole documentary on Zoom. And I'm just looking at some numbers. Like I said, Scotty these are facts. 122nd highest player in the NBA in 1997. This is after he won his 5th championship. The highest paid player was Michael Jordan at 33. The second highest was Patrick Ewing at 20.
That's what I was thinking of earlier.
Yeah.
Patrick Ewing.
Patrick Ewing was at 20.
At 30. I thought he was at.
No,
was it
he's
20?
at 20. He's at 20.
Okay.
Horace Grant was at 14.
Oh my
Okay?
God.
Horace Grant was at 14. So cats were getting their money as it relates to that particular time. But here's my thing. On the one hand, it makes me appreciate LeBron and how he kind of bucked the model of now he's doing the 1 year, 2 year option contracts and keeping his destiny and keeping the pressure on the management to say, give me my money. It makes me appreciate the Rich Pauls of the world and those agents because a lot of me and my guys were asking, like, does Scotty have an agent? Like, who lets their client sign that contract? Like, as an agent, you taking money out of your pocket. at that particular point. And so I get Scotty saying, "Hey, I got to take care of my family. We didn't have nothing. If I got injured, and I wouldn't have got none of that." And as we think about Boogie Cousins and what happened to him, so I get it, Scotty. But Scotty signed a 3 or 4 year contract and then re-up in 95. In 95, Jordan was out of the league. So Scotty was their best player. Scotty could have took the bank in 1995. Had he played his cards right.
Right, and that's what it was, just bad. And obviously, we talk about the Rich Pauls of the world and LeBron James of the world and what they've done to ensure that these players get their said money. A lot of these rules today and regulations are from those bad business practices. The bad business practice that Scotty did, 18 for 7 years. We scoff at it now, but back then it probably makes a lot more sense. But even then, Scotty had opportunities. Scotty had Jordan saying, "Hey, don't sign this contract."
Right.
Others coming to Scotty, "Hey, don't sign this contract." But I remember, and I'm gonna make another comparison. I remember when, what was it, the thing on the TV show, Steve Harvey and Monique, when they were going back and forth with the whole money situation.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna go too in depth with it, but Steve alluded to basically doing what you have to do to secure your bag.
Right.
And I think that's what we have to kind of give to Scottie Pippen. I will never really bash the man that puts his family first and makes sacrifices where he needs to. But that's personal life.
Yeah.
In the game of basketball, I need you to be a little bit smarter than that. I need you to know not to go around and putting your pen on 7-year deals for $18 million. Because if we really and I didn't do it today, but if we really break down those numbers, we'll see how egregious it is for a man to be living off that kind of check, and you're the second best player in the NBA.
Let me say this one before we move to the next point. But Scotty did finish his career getting his just due. So after he left the Bulls, he went to Houston. I think they gave him 14 that year. And then he went to Portland. I think in Portland, the next 3 years, he got like 18, 19, and 20. So he was able to kind of recoup some of the money that he missed out on.
Right.
And still have a good living. You know what I'm saying? Because I think some arguably in terms of just NBA earnings, Pippen made more money than Jordan did in just a straight NBA earnings, though.
Yes, he did. 100 to 90, I want to say.
Somewhere in that ballpark. But okay.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, moving on to the next one. Obviously, we talked about his contract and the type of player he was. Obviously, we want to draw the comparison between the balancing act. Again, that is Jordan and Scottie Pippen.
Yeah.
Do we think it bothered Scottie to play second fiddle to Jordan for a long time? I'll let you take a shot at this question.
Man, that's a good question. Man. I'm gonna say this. I love, some of our viewers. Thank you for tuning in. I would love to hear and see some of your comments down in the some of your thoughts down in the comments. Let us know, what you think about some of these topics. But this is just speculation. I don't know. I think Scott is human. Scott is human. He has emotions, and everybody wants to be the guy. At some point, everybody wants to be the number one. You got to think about it. Scotty came in playing second fiddle to Jordan. They won the 3 championships. Jordan left, and then Scotty had his year to shine, and he did. Was an all-star, led the team to 57 wins, and then the next year he was the guy. And then Jordan came back toward the end of the year, and then he had to come back and go back to his second fiddle role. As a competitor. As a guy, nobody wants to continue to be number 2 all the time when you feel like you have number 1 talent, and then especially given that you're not paid like the number 1. I'm sure somewhere there was some resentment with Scotty. Maybe he didn't express it directly to Mike because they were winning, and winning kind of solves all ills is the saying that goes. But I think at some point Scotty must have harbored some type of resentment in playing that second fiddle role and wanted to be the guy at some point. But maybe he did a good job of just kind of holding it in.
I think some players know. I think when Scotty, upon his arrival, knowing that Jordan is going to be the guy or that Jordan is the guy. I think most players know. Obviously, I think for Scotty, he got it into, he knew these championships wouldn't have been gotten without my help.
Mm-hmm.
But the one driving the bus on en route to this
Yeah,
championships is
yeah,
Michael Jordan. I
right.
think for Scotty, I think it's always a thing of just reputation and how much praise you're just getting. And if Scotty would have just received his just desserts as for praise, I don't think he wouldn't have got a problem. Obviously, we see, at least for documentary 1 and 2, the only issue was just the money.
Right.
I don't think Scotty had a real issue saying Jordan's Mario and I'm Luigi. Obviously, we're both two intricate parts that's going to get this team a championship, but just give me the same recognition financially that you would give to Jordan.
Right.
And again, I think it's Jordan. As long as the player, for Scotty, I'm speaking from Scotty's standpoint, as long as Jordan knows that, oh, I can't do this without you,
Mm-hmm.
we're good.
Right.
We're boys. But
And he
obviously,
said that.
yeah. And Jordan alluded to that. And I just can't. I just don't think it was an issue. And I think when players are always trying to become the best, now what I do want to know more of is what were Scotty's thoughts at the time where Jordan left and then came
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
That will probably, that will probably answer more of it. He have a problem becoming second fiddle because
Yeah.
when I don't know if the plan was Jordan saying, and you may know better than me even now, what was the reason Jordan retired and decided to go play baseball for a year and come back? And then what's Scotty saying? Well, if Jordan's coming back, how is he just automatically Fresh
The
Prince
guy.
again and I'm
Yeah.
Jazzy?
Right.
And
Yeah.
I'm Jazzy. And so I think for obviously the first 3 championships, I think it was already it's written on the wall. I'm
Right.
not the best here, or at least I'm not going to be. I'm not going to be glorified as the best. It's going to be Michael Jordan.
Facts. So let me pose something to you, and this our
Throw it
last.
at me.
We need to get out of here, but no, but to that last point you just kind of made, one of my favorite leadership coaches that I watch is a guy named John Maxwell, and he in one of his videos and tenets that he talks about is that some of us are the leader. Some of us are the guy that's out front. Some of us is the person that's going to lead the team and put everything on our back. And then some of us, our purpose is tied to supporting the leader. And that's not to minimize what you bring to the table, but that's your purpose. And another purpose is to be in the front of the line, and another person's purpose is tied to the person in the front to support and make sure that they stay out front and do what they need to do. And so, in my view, Scotty's purpose was to be the number 2 guy, to be the cleanup guy, to do the little things, to allow Michael to run freely and be great at just flat out scoring the basketball. And that is Scotty's level of leadership.
And let me add something to that.
Yeah.
When Scotty was injured, right? Scotty not posting 63 points in the playoff game either. Yeah. I love Scotty. We know Scotty can play. We know Scotty can score. But he ain't doing 63 points. Larry Bird and those Celtics aren't going to talk about Scottie Pippen in the same light that they was talking about Michael Jordan. They was glad that they escaped out of that playoff game, out of that playoff series like they did. Now, if Scotty was there, would they had won? Yeah, they would have. But if Scotty was there and then you replaced Jordan with Scotty in that situation, it's a whole different narrative in that whole entire playoff.
I'll also go here. When Scotty was out, those 20 games at the beginning of the 98 season, the Bulls were struggling. As you mentioned, they were 0-4 on the road to start the season. Mike had to pull out a 50-burger just to beat the Clippers at that point.
In the overtime, yeah.
Yeah, and so it shows how much of Pippen did for that team. And I didn't really like how Mike was just whining about that. Look, Mike, you quit on the team, dog. You quit for 2 years and left Scotty and
Yeah.
all those guys to keep everything together.
Yeah.
And now Scotty's not getting paid. You making 33. Scotty's making 2.5, and that brother wants 20 games off. And 20 years later, you still throwing him under the bus, saying that Scotty should have handled that differently, man. That's trash, Mike. That is trash. You know.
But you said it. But you said it earlier. But you said it earlier, though, Damien. It gets ugly when you're a successful franchise for so long. You have to do ugly things
Right.
just to keep things afloat. And
Right.
whether that's jarring at each other or one person makes one move that you don't like. Imagine you hooping, right? And your team is just we're just the best team. We're the best hoopers out here at the park or whatever. And what we doing to keep this together? The minute your homeboy does something that you don't like to keep the train moving, you're gonna get upset about it. It happens.
We going at it.
And that's. But you still boys. You still realize what it. Yeah, you still realize what it takes to be able to win, and you want your homeboy to be on that same train. Is it selfish? Yeah, but we've been selfish since we've all been in Little League.
I got homeboys that we've got in fist fights on the court on the same team about not passing the ball at a certain time, cussing each other out, fighting, and then we calm down, check ball, we back at it, and we try to win
back at it,
and then we ride home together and go to the club later that night.
But like it never happened, and that was the same thing when I was at TSU. We were playing 7-on-7, and my man Robel was our quarterback. And,
right.
And, you know, sometimes he would get angry at the receivers.
Robel was our quarterback.
Robel was our quarterback.
Okay.
We ended up being one of the best teams at TSU. I want to say Robel has won like 2 championships up there since that time, and he's been able to compete in the national level for 7-on-7. So big shout outs to him. But even then, Robel would always get upset because receivers would be running the same routes, and he knew we were good, and he knew that we knew what it took to be able to try to win. But when your boys wasn't on the same page, or when this guy wasn't showing up for this game, or bro, why you acting like this? Why you acting like that? Those things that cause rifts, but those are rifts that good teams have when good teams are trying to figure out, because individually between Rodman, Jordan, Pippen, Kerr, and anybody else you want to name on that team, Charles, at the same, all of those guys are intricate pieces to that team.
Yep.
You can't say, oh, we would have. Who knows if we would have removed Rodman from the piece? Do the Bulls win 6 championships? And it's small, minute thing, right? It's small, minute things that I think we as fans or we as watchers do forget to pay attention to. So that kind of brings us to the last question. Do you think Michael could have been successful without Scotty? And I think before you actually do get into that, we might have answered that throughout the duration of this podcast, that maybe not 6 championships, maybe 2 or 3. I think we can definitely knock a lot of those rings off and say without Scotty, because one thing that you did do bringing Scotty on, and one thing that we don't lose to Jordan. Jordan plays some defense. Yeah. Jordan played some defense. Scotty played some defense. So what you did was you put 2 of the best defenders in the league on the same team.
Yeah.
And that you choke teams offensively like that. And so obviously a cut and dry answer. I definitely think Michael would have had some success, but not the level of 6 championships. And before I even go out for my final statement, everyone knows that even in those championships, when Michael turned it on, he turned it on. And nobody was stopping Michael when he did that. But without Scotty, there would be no 6 rings.
Well, I mean, I agree with you, and I'll just make it short and sweet, man. You know, as I'll go back to what I said, Scottie Pippen is the greatest Chicago Bull of all time. If there was no Scotty, we would not be talking about Michael Jordan in the way that we're talking about him. There would. I mean, if there was no Scotty, there would be no argument that LeBron James is the best basketball player we've ever seen.
I'm just gonna be. Thank God. No, it's all right. Thank God for Scotty. Thank God for Scottie Pippen.
Because I mean, think about it. What really separates LeBron and the Jordan argument, and LeBron, I mean, and Jordan and Kobe, is the 6 championships going 6-0. And if you take Scotty out of that equation, I don't know if Mike goes 6-0. Right?
Right. No, right.
You know what I'm saying? Then we might be saying that Kobe Bryant is the greatest basketball player ever because he's 5-2 in the championship round. LeBron 3-6. That's still kind of terrible. But Scottie Pippen was just so integral to what they did with this basketball club. And I'm glad that this documentary is showing just how vital and important and integral he was to the success of the team. And I appreciate Jordan on the one hand saying, when you say Michael Jordan, you need to say Scottie Pippen. Then on the other hand, he threw him under the bus. This is typical Mike. But
team stuff. Yeah.
Jordan couldn't have been as successful without Mike, because the facts say Jordan never won a first round playoff series until Scottie Pippen got on the roster. So let's just be honest and frank about it, So, but yeah, that's my thoughts, man.
Real quick before we go out, what's going to excite you the most about episode 3 with the Bad Boy Pistons?
Episode 3, I'm looking forward to the Bad Boy Pistons fights. I'm a big Isaiah Thomas fan. I wore number 11 as a player in high school, junior high, because I love Zeke. I love Isaiah Thomas, and he could handle the ball on a string, man. And so I love those teams. I love physical teams. The way I grew up playing basketball in Mississippi, we had a no layup rule, and I think the Bad Boys had that same kind of. If you come into the hole to lay it up, you're gonna have to earn it. You're gonna get hit. And so I'm looking forward to learning more about Dennis Rodman and what he brought to the table. And so, man, I'm excited, brother.
And definitely, I think for me, it's just reliving or living that part of history that was the Bad Boy Pistons. And I've just heard so many stories about those guys. And I know the 4 great players on that team that they had, including Zeke, and knowing how they bullied Jordan and causing him. It's also going to be big for us to see the transition of Michael Jordan from the little scrawny kid that he was with the Bulls to this dynamic player that had gained the pounds, that gained the muscle, that gained what he needed to be able to get past a hump. And we're seeing what it's like for a player to transition past an obstacle. Wait. For him, that was the Bad Boy Pistons.
Tony, go back to your original point, because you froze up for a few seconds. So we'll start back from your original point.
Okay. I think it's good for us to see the transition of Michael Jordan having to get over an obstacle that was the Bad Boy Pistons. And we know the 4 great players that they had on their team, including Zeke. You're saying he can handle the ball on the string, but these veteran guys that bullied one of the greatest to ever do it. And we'll see his, and it's pinpointing his struggles. I think we're going to see his struggles as a player that every player goes through. No player is excused, whether you're LeBron James, whether you are Kobe Bryant, or whoever you want to throw out there. Jordan went through those things too, and I think it's really awesome that we get to see that. I think it's been a dope first show, man. I think I need to do better with my lighting.
We're gonna work on it, brother. But the content, the conversation is timeless, brother. It's great. I think folks are gonna really enjoy our conversations, and for those to come, and that we continue to bring facts to the conversation.
Oh, most definitely, man. And that's the biggest thing, guys. We want to be able to give you guys the real thing in sports, and that we don't want to sugarcoat these things for you guys. Obviously, we're just going to give it to you straight. Damien, before we go out, man, tell them about the Damien Jones podcast.
Oh man, listen. Damien Jones podcast, where we talk about news and politics in an unfiltered way. But it's just this is about you and the sports, though, Tony. I'm a sports junkie, and I'm honored to be with you and to speak with you and to do this with you on Tuesdays and Thursdays and just kind of talk about sports, because in a perfect world, I would be a sportscaster, man, and I just fell into politics. And so, man, I envy you, brother, and I'm looking forward to the great content and great conversation we're going to continue to have talking about the world of sports, brother.
Most definitely. But you guys, please do be sure to check out the Damien Jones podcast. I never like to go forward with any work dealing with anybody and not have every facet of what they're doing, put out there in the limelight for people to be able to check out there. But
big shout outs to you, man, and SOS Sports, man, and what you've built. And that's why I wanted to work with you, man. Tony has done a great job. Y'all check out SOS Sports, and I'll make sure next time that we have the hashtag and the handle down below. SOS is really, really building some good stuff, man. So, man, we are, everybody's in for a treat, man. I'm happy to be with you. I think the viewers will love the content we're bringing to the table, man. And so I'm excited, my dear brother.
Oh man, definitely, man. This is again, guys. This is a part of Spot on Sports. You will see this show on Damien's Facebook page, as well as Spot on Sports Facebook page and social medias. I always say when I end it, and I will say it when I end every single show. Please, guys, comment, rate, subscribe, drop us a like, do all the things you got to do to get notified of what Spot on Sports is doing. Again, click that notification bell, get notified. You can check out this podcast as well as you will be able to going forward. Check out SOS Nation with Bruce T. Check out all the other shows that we have. I can't go down the line on us too much. Be sure to tune in for the NFL Draft Zoom show featuring
Absolutely.
myself, Bruce Taylor, as well as a bevy of other sports heads from ESPN. Texas Southern has some young cats out there that will be joining us as well. This young sports minds that will be. You guys might even see Damian Jones in the mix, man. If he
Maybe,
decides to
maybe.
jump on and talk some draft stuff, man, you never
Keep
know.
my
This
line,
handsome
dog. Keep
cat,
my line.
you know it, man. You know it. But most of our guys, we hope that you did enjoy this first episode. We'll be coming at you guys next Tuesday because the draft is on Thursday. We'll be back next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Hey man, this is Tony Monk. That is Damon Jones, and we will see you guys next time.